This week on Supercars Torque, there's more co-driver announcements, the Commodore gets an aero tweak, I rate the paint jobs for 2021, and it's a 1,000 subscriber spectacular celebration! So, big channel news, 1,000 subscribers. That means we can monetize the channel. I do have to wait. Apparently, it's got to go through a review process with YouTube before that can happen. So maybe if they review this video, I will try not to swear or anything. Make it wholesome for all the family. Big news this week. We got to see the BJR liveries and the complete set, and there is a little bit of a question mark whether these could be full season ones, because the way that some of the wording on the press releases, I suppose, kind of hinted that maybe these are for multiple rounds, if not the whole year, rather than just one-off. The Coke Money and Pither, as I kind of hinted at the other week, is a full sponsorship deal on Macaulay Jones's car. Once again, though, they have kind of added that whatever swoosh thing down the side of the car. But once again, very, very plain paint job on that. Brad Jones Racing normally does a pretty good job on the paint job, so maybe this is a Coke directive or whatever, the bottling thing or whatever, whoever's actually paying the bills. But as you'll see later on when I rate all the liveries, a little bit plain. Percat, R&J batteries and Coke on the bonnet of the car on that one. Could be full season the way that was worded, which is very strange for those guys. And Todd Hazelwood is got the Dunlop sponsorship on his car. Once again, great looking livery, that Dunlop livery. I'm not sure how different it is, but it just seemed to be a little bit better again. So as you'll see, that gets the best rating out of the Brad Jones Racing liveries. That'll be coming up towards the end of the episode though. Speaking of liveries as well, they had the test day at Winton, and two of the Tickford cars must have been listening because they actually ran with painted wheels. The Jack LeBrock truck assist car ran with full orange wheels, and the Boost James Courtney car ran with orange sidewall kind of on the wheel. I'll put a photo up there so you can see what it looks like. Whether this stays for the whole championship or not remains to be seen. Would be interesting maybe if they put some bright green wheels on the monster car as well, just to brighten the whole thing up a bit. I think that would look quite good. Let me know what you think, and let me know whose wheels should be painted, because some of them, I think it would really lift the look of the car if they had painted wheels. There has been more co-driver announcements this week. I think we'd already had the announcements of these co-drivers at Team 18, but the actual lineups weren't announced. So we will see little Jimmy Goulding with Scott Pye this year. That's a bit of a change because he was with Winterbottom last year. And Winterbottom's going to be with Michael Caruso. This team is just going from strength to strength. As we saw, they got Richard Holloway on board from Gary Rogers Motorsport. They've got Phil Keed there. Two great co-drivers. Both of them could actually be, main game drivers still. Just strength from strength, this team. I will not be surprised if both of them are solidly in the top 10 this year. Will Brown and Jack Perkins will be together this year, and an interesting combination, Brodie Kostecki and David Russell. Dave kind of came back from the dead, I suppose, to race with MSR last year at Bathurst. It's hard to know what kind of job he did last year because of the equipment he was in. Is he coming with money, and is that why he's at Erebus? It just seems a little bit of a left field one, that one. And Moffat and Alexander Premer have been confirmed at Tickford, along with the previously confirmed Thomas Randall. No confirmation on who's going to be in what car. Premer, an interesting one as well because of all the travel restrictions. So now 2 teams have potentially, they've got drivers coming from America that potentially, depending on COVID restrictions and things like that, whether they will actually make it. So there could be a bit of a scramble there. At least Tickford can probably shuffle around their co-drivers depending on championship position later on. So they've got their they've got their guys announced, but they can do a bit of a shuffle there. And very surprised that Brock Feeney wasn't announced as a co-driver in the Courtney car with the boost tie-up. Where will he end up? I would have thought he would have already had an announced co-driver, but he hasn't. Some more Gen 3 news. There will be a tender out for control bodywork. So you'll just be able to go and buy your bodywork from one supplier. This kind of happens at the moment on the Holden side of the divide, where you have to go to 888 and buy the bodywork. In the tender process, you can put in the application if you want to just do the Chev side of the equation and the Ford side of the equation, or you can put in a tender. I want to do all of the bodywork. This is, as long as it's controlled, I think this is a good idea, because you could have one truck going with heaps and heaps of bodywork spares, so the teams don't have to carry as much. The only thing will be if you need to sticker up some stuff in the middle of the weekend if you have too many crashes. But this is all then, I think, heading down the right direction of cost containment, especially if they're only running 2 marks. It just makes it a hell of a lot easier. The teams don't have to go make their own, as long as you don't have a situation where the 888 stuff for the Commodores at the moment is costing some of the teams a lot more to go and buy it than what it would have cost them to make it themselves. The Commodore has had an aero tweak coming up to the first round this season. I don't want to get into it too much because you see all the comments about, Ford has never got an aero tweak to help them, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure if we went through all of the ones, it'd be pretty kind of level pegging of everything that's happened over the years. But fans on one side of the fence focus on all the negatives for theirs and the positives to the other one, and vice versa. And it's always unfair either way. It does seem to be that Holden's got a bit more concessions over the last few years. But anyway, I don't want to get into that today because it could be here forever, and I want to cover some other things. Apparently this is because they had overheating issues last year, and the big incident that 888, obviously, because they're the homologation team, is saying that Shane Van Gisbergen's suspension failed in Adelaide because it was overheating the suspension. Could be true. They've convinced someone, so something in the wheel well to aid the airflow in there to cool down stuff. Is it really an aero tweak? I'm just going to leave it at that. There was some testing at Winton on Friday last week. It did happen. Victoria came out of lockdown and it could go ahead. And Will Brown was the fastest. So, of course, the championship must be between Will Brown and Zane Goddard because they were the fastest in testing. So, pretty simple, that one. I am going to do an episode later this week with my championship predictions. But you know, it's going to be between Will Brown and Zane Gatto because they were the fastest in testing. Time for my paint job rankings for the year. Everyone has released their paint jobs now at least for round one, except for Erebus, and they'll probably stuff me up by releasing their looks between when I film this and when I've released it, but I'm sure we can live with that. Start off with the fails. Triple Eight, enough. It's just too busy. Techno, it just, to me, it doesn't quite work. I think I like that both cars have the same look, but I think the jerky car looked better last year. I think they're waiting for sponsors to come on board that they can fill in the weird gaps. And the Matt Stone Racing cars, I've just paired them together. The unit one, actually, that's not a bad paint job. But the yellow cover one, it's just too busy. Colours kind of clashing. That, I'm just going to lump them in the ugly column because I can do it. It's up to me. The plain liveries, these are just the ones, they're not offensive, but they're just not exciting. Dick Johnson Racing, mainly because it's been the same paint job for the last forever. I assume that Shell has a lot of say in it and the logo has to be a certain size because I think they could play with the sizing of it just to, spark it up a little. But yeah, Jack LeBrock's car, once again, it's the same thing as last year. I'm not a massive fan of that kind of flat grey look on the car. I will give him, though, a big thumbs up for the painted wheels. That has really lifted that paint job. And I actually worked out this list before I saw them testing with those painted wheels. So maybe that could put that into the good category because of that. James Courtney, it's not a bad paint job, but I just think last year's was better. So I'm going to put that into the plain category. Jack Smith, what more do you need to say? That is just a bit of a snooze fest, that paint job. Nick Percat's, it's plain. That's why it's in the plain category. And Macaulay Jones's Coke car, because once again, the Coke one, I would have thought they would have integrated it a lot better, like what, the Wayne Gardner cars were years ago. Next up, we have the good paint jobs. Dave Reynolds' Penrite, I nearly said Pertec car. Dave Reynolds' Penrite car, that looks good. It's not spectacular or anything, but it looks good. The sister car there, the Jaime's Ned Whiskey car, that looks good too. It's a good looking car. There's a little bit of room for improvement, but it is a good looking car. Tim Slade's, I was a little bit critical of this because I was expecting more, but it did look good on track, so that's going in the good column. Mark Winterbottom's Irwin car, that looks good. It's not great, but it looks good. And the last of the good ones is Todd Hazelwood's. That Dunlop kind of paint job usually looks good. It looks slightly better even this year for some reason. So that's the final good one. Now, the two thumbs up. These are the great ones. These are my favourite ones. First off, what is currently my favourite paint job for the year? Chaz Mostert, that looks awesome. Bryce Fullwood, they've done just a great job on those two cars. I think they just look really smart. And possibly coming from a little bit awkward last year, they've just done a really good job this year. Cam Waters' car, it's just that monster black Mustang. It looks good as a Falcon. It just looks even better as a Mustang. That is a great job. And the Scott Pye DeWalt car, it's, the black and yellow, Richmond is not a good football team, but on the DeWalt car, it just works. That's a great looking car. So that wraps it up for another week. Let me know what you think about my paint job rankings down in the comments. 1,000 subscribers, once again. Celebration time. All of my millions of YouTube bunnies that are coming, I'm going to improve the set and things like that. So that's just great. Thank you, everyone. I'm just blown away that there's so many people watching and subscribing to this channel. Makes me want to do it more, so that's a good thing. And until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.